societal judgment that these two people failed. Research shows that one of four children of divorced or separated couples suffers from mental health issues and problems. Sometimes divorce will open a door for like a new world. Divorce can be the door for happiness.
Welcome to this special episode of Can Divorce Be a Good Thing? Welcome, Rand, to this topic.
Thank you for having me.
It's lovely to have you. Rand is a counselor, a mediator, a family therapist, amongst many things, with many, many years of experience. So it's lovely to have her here so we can learn from her experience and her expertise. But I want to just put a bit of a context to this topic of divorce. I do believe that there is some stigma attached to divorce. Not I believe, I do know that there is stigma attached to divorce within the Muslim community, more so in some sub-communities compared to others, without naming any, but it is a reality. But what we need to realize is that Islamically, there is nothing wrong with divorce in the sense that it existed during our Prophet's time, sallam, and it has existed throughout history. And many of the Sahaba actually did get divorced. Just to give you one example, Zubayr ibn Awam and Asma bint Abu Bakr divorced. Now, Zubayr is one of the companions of the Prophet sallam, who was promised paradise. He was one of the 10 who was promised paradise. And Asma bint Abu Bakr narrated numerous hadith which we benefit from today, and she is the daughter of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu an. So these two companions actually divorced, and it shows that it doesn't take away from a person being pious. But sadly, we forget about these facts, and we often can look down on people who do divorce. I guess a question on this, following on from this, Rand, why does divorce carry such a stigma in some Muslim communities? What are your thoughts on this? And how can we address this?
Yeah, you already touched on this. It's a cultural thing. It's a societal judgment that these two people failed. So these people failed to keep this family together, to maintain the relationship. Some people would just, judge them as you did not put in enough effort, or like what makes you think you are better than all of us who have issues, but continuing to work on these issues, and you decided to end this marriage. So there is a stigma, but it's not from the religion. It's not part of the religion. It is mainly cultural and societal judgment.
Very true. And so I guess one way to avoid or remove this stigma, just the fact that I gave an example, this kind of knowledge probably doesn't exist in some of the community, and therefore, and a hadith that's often mentioned is that it's one of the least liked things, and I often hear this being mentioned.
أبغض الحلال عند الله الطلاق. Yes, yeah. They keep repeating that, but like it's still halal. And in some cases, it is the only option. So we keep forgetting that it's still halal thing to do. It's not haram. So in order for us to overcome this stigma is to look at individuals with dignity and treat case per case. Every case is different. Every divorce case is different. So we need to look at individuals and their value aside from the relationships.
Okay, so now that we've made it clear that divorce is part of life, and it's part of Muslims' lives as well, do you ever see situations where you think, with this couple, if they did A, B, and C, they could save the marriage? Do you see that kind of scenario often, or not really?
Unfortunately, I see that, and I see it a lot. And I always, in mediation sessions, ask the couples separately if there is any chance for reconciling, for getting back together. And if they both say yes, but it's difficult, I say, okay, let's try couples therapy before mediation. If it still didn't work out, come back to mediation. But if there is 1% chance to save this marriage, to reconcile, please go for this one chance. And yes, I see couples and think like, your problem is really simple. But, things, get in the way of actually seeing eye to eye. Sometimes the ego, sometimes it's like family influence, sometimes it's like that built up of resentment, So they stop seeing eye to eye and like they feel like, no, doesn't matter. There is a chronic unhappiness in our marriage and I don't want to even give it any chances. But yeah, sometimes it's really sad that it's the actual issue is very simple and easily fixed.
I guess then going to another scenario, do you ever, I guess, go through couples therapy, manage couples therapy, or you're in a mediation situation and you think divorce, I think, is the best option for this couple?
That happens too, but I would not really give them that advice. I would never give people advice that, hey, you should end your relationship or um it's a matter of time. But I do see it. And sometimes I think that and they surprise me.
Mm,
And it's really good surprise when they
mm,
actually, subhanallah, it's the heart is in Allah's hand. So sometimes like people switch, people change, or something click inside of them and they turn around. I don't communicate that. I don't communicate like what I think will happen to the relationship. I allow them to go through the journey. I do guide them through the journey, but I do sometimes feel like leave or like this, it's a matter of time for this relationship to end. And on other, scenarios, I do think sometimes, oh, it's so simple and easy. I do communicate that more if the
mm.
couple come to me for couples therapy and they think it's a massive thing between them. And then I say like, hey, listen, this is very simply fixed. It's like a matter of learning a new skill. And you can, because you're here, you're willing to learn that skill. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very good to see. It's good to know what I guess, the therapist is thinking or how they're trying to navigate this space and trying to get the best outcome for the couple. So it's wonderful to have that insight. I want to ask your advice. When a couple decides to divorce, how can they make it as easy as possible? Because I know that it's a very difficult time usually for people. Even though they want out, they've spent a significant amount of their time with this person. So it's not easy, especially if there are children involved. How can divorce be made easier?
Yes. Before divorce, I would say if you're thinking about divorce, please, please, please follow these following steps. One, communicate. Communicate that like you're drifting apart. Communicate that your needs are unfulfilled. Communicate the issue from your point of view and allow the other party to communicate as well and explain or clarify things. First step, communication. If that failed, because I see so many clients who say to me, I mentioned this problem 1,000 times, but he doesn't listen or she doesn't listen. So if communication failed, then we bring somebody to help us. Somebody can be a family member or a close family friend to mediate, like, informally mediate between the parties and try to talk her a little, talk him a little, give advices if that
Mm,
doesn't work out. And the Quran says, I can't remember the ayah, ولكن حكم من أهله وحكم من أهلها. Bring somebody from her side, bring somebody from his side to work on the problem. Nowadays, this hasn't been as effective as it used to be in the past
mm,
because family, the bias, like, of course, everyone want their, daughters or like sons' best interest. And in most cases, it's very rare to find somebody hakim with wisdom to actually mediate. If that failed, then couples therapy. Please, please, please go counseling and couples therapy. Sometimes the couple will need individual counseling as well as couples therapy because I would have my own issues and problems. He would have his own issues and problems that he need to work on, and then we need to work together on this relationship. If that doesn't work and khalas, that's it, we said it's a divorce, then we should do it the right way. Right way is for us to sit and talk about how we're going to move forward, what we're going to tell the children, what we will tell people, how life will be after divorce, how our relationship will be after divorce. And I'm talking here specifically about people who have children, because it's way easier if there's not children, right?
Yes.
There is no need for, like, a relationship after divorce if
You
there
can
is no
cut ties
children.
completely, can't you? If there's no
Yes.
children, but with your children, you're
Yes.
connected for life, really.
For life, absolutely for life. And people forget that, right? They forget, like, no, after divorce, it won't get easier. You'll have to deal with this person for the rest of your life. If we couldn't, in an amicable way, decide how life will be after divorce, then we need a mediator or a mediation to, sort out the custody matter, the parenting matter, the property settlement matter. And please, please, please avoid court if you can. However, some cases can only be resolved at court. So let's leave the court as the last resort, right? But
Mm.
do whatever it takes to avoid that, because the court process is draining mentally, psychologically, and financially, especially if there are children involved. From my personal and professional point of view, I don't think children should go through that process unless there is no any other solution. But yes, we should follow these steps in order.
I see. I'm talking about worst case scenarios, but I sometimes see an individual who's very, very hurt by by their spouse, who's going to become their ex-spouse, and they want the other person to hurt. And sometimes they use the children as a means to hurt their, their spouse or their ex. Do you see this often, and what are the ramifications of this?
Yes, it's really sad, but it's very common as well.
Mm.
Because hurt people hurt. So if he cheated, or if she hurt him so badly in a way or another, and he is so hurting or she's so hurting, that's what they have inside of them. So that's what they will be giving, right? So hurt people hurt. However, our role as a community, as friends of these, separating couple, as professionals, counselors, therapists, mediators, lawyers, is to remind the couple that it's about the children. Forget about you, forget about her. What's in the best interest of your children? I try as much as I can to bring the couple to a common goal. I tell them, okay, think about, your child's graduation from university. How would you like that to be? Yes, it is a long way to go, right? But like, how would you like, your child to experience her or his graduation? Do you want her to have mom and dad both present and happy and feel the happiness? Who's going to walk your daughter down the aisle? Do you want
Mm.
to attend the wedding? What will
Yeah.
happen about the wedding of your child? Think about all of that, because you guys will still be in each other's lives forever. Forever. Even, like, your first grandchild, even,
Yeah.
like your grandchildren's wedding, you want to be able to attend, and you want your children and grandchildren to feel happy and not be worried and anxious. Oh my God, mom and dad will have to come, or like, I can't invite one because the other one will get upset. It's not fair for the children. It's not their fault that the relationship didn't work out. And we are the adult in this relationship. So we need to make it as easy as possible for the children. Research shows that one of four children of divorced or separated couples suffers from mental health issues and problems. Why? Because kids are already sensitive and they see the family unit, and then all of a sudden that family unit is, like, torn, and the child feels torn apart, between mom and dad. Should I choose one side? Will I upset the other one? They struggle. They say even during handover, when you, like, drop off and pick up, if the parents, conduct the handover being silent, completely silent, they don't say anything to each other, the kids see that and they're negatively
Mm.
impacted. So the research was suggesting, just like, salam, hello, how are you? Even like if you force yourself to say it, that will impact the children in a positive way. They will think, okay, I don't need to worry about this now. I'm not putting mom in uncomfortable situation. I'm not, like, letting dad down. You know what I mean? So yes, bring in the to children's best
Mm.
interest. What's in the children's best interest?
Yeah, that just reminded me. I had once read that often children feel responsible for some reason for the divorce of their parents. This seems to be common. Is this
Yes,
true?
it is very true. There was a research that was conducted few years ago, I can't remember when exactly, where they interviewed kids from separated couples and they asked them, what do you think the reason mom and dad divorced? And the reasons these kids came up with were like shocking. One of them
Mhm.
said, oh, because I didn't put the bike in the garage when mom asked me. One said, like,
Wow.
because I didn't go to bed, like when mom, told me to go. So they always like, because the kid under the age of 10, they think the world revolves around them. They think they're
Mm,
center of the world, right? So anything is happening outside is like my responsibility. It must have something to do with me. So they try to remember when was the last time I upset mom or dad, or like I caused them to argue or something, right? And some of the arguments happen about children or different
mm,
parenting styles, and then the kid internalize that and think, okay, blame themselves. It's my fault. It's my fault. That's why we say to parents it's very, very important to agree on a story and tell that story to the children.
agree
Give
on a
them a
story
closure
between the parents. Wow.
between the parents. That's like one of the steps. What we're going to tell the children. Mom and dad, the very common and simple one is like, mom and dad fell in love, mom and dad fell out of love, but we love you so much. And it's not your fault. And we'll continue to love you and help you and support you in every way that we can do. So assuring the child it's not their fault and that our love won't change for you. And that, give them a reason, a closure to why this relationship,
Mm.
ended.
So, all right, you make it sound so easy, which it is, but yeah, it's so we don't see it done that often, and I guess maybe because people are so emotionally charged when they're divorced or divorcing, and then maybe there's a lot of trauma, but it really it can be done,
Challenging can
can't
be
it?
it can be done, but it can be very challenging. And I know, and I have to admit it. It's really unfair for somebody who's gone through divorce and who's going through ending that relationship. No one enters a relationship thinking that it will end one day.
Mm, mm,
No one. You built dreams and life together, and now it's ending, and you grieving, and you're going through that process of like separating from the person that you thought you're gonna spend the rest of your life with, and you're asked to make major life decisions, such as about the parenting, reaching a parenting agreement, or like property settlement. These are like big massive life changing decisions that you're asked to make while you're grieving and you're like emotionally destroyed in many cases. So I understand and I get it's really, really difficult. It can be really unfair for the parent, but we try to get them to have all the support that they need during that time from family, friends, therapists, professionals. Your GP should know about what's happening with you. Get all the support that you can get so you can minimize the harm for the children.
As you're speaking, I'm thinking of a scenario in the sense there's a couple, they're very unhappy, or one of the couples, one of the individuals is very unhappy. I'm guessing it takes them years to potentially sometimes decide whether they want to divorce. What's your advice in deciding whether to keep trying or whether to say, okay, now it's time to opt out?
Yes, I advise couples all the time to try to address issues as they arise, like straight away. When something happens, try to talk about it or resolve it straight away. Don't let negative emotions build, and then we have resentment, and like then we have like major issues that we can't fix. When couples first come and see me, when I ask them what the problem is, they tell me something really minor, but I know for sure, like this is what they
Mm,
see, or this is the last problem or the last argument, but there is way deeper issue and long, term problem that went, unnoticed or unresolved. So what they mention usually is just the tip of the iceberg. So try to address issues as they raise. That is one thing. Second, give yourself a time frame. I
mm,
advise couples is like give yourself a time frame. If the relationship, say like to yourself, okay, I'm going to give it whatever it takes to fix and work on this relationship. Of course, if the other party is on board as well. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't work within 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, right? That's it. Now, during that time, the 3 months, 6 months, the 1 year, if you see improvement, that means you're doing right, you're doing good. You're seeing some kind of results. You may not achieve the best outcome you're wishing for, but as long as there is a progress, forward is forward. So yeah,
Mm.
put in a time frame. After that, if
Mhm.
you're still at the same point when you started, then divorce might be the only solution.
Okay, so let's say that the marriage ends in divorce, which we talked about how damaging and hurtful it can be. How does one heal post divorce? And when does one know that they're ready for another relationship, with the intent of marriage?
Yes, yeah. Um, That's a very good question. We need to allow ourselves time to grieve. It's a loss. So we need to
Mm,
grieve. We need to see what this relationship and ended this relationship triggered, inside of us. Sometimes it's like some childhood issues and problems that will come up to the surface, So we need to work on that by ourselves or with the help of a professional psychologist, counselor, therapist, right? And we need to put some goals for ourselves and get to know ourselves better. Okay.
mm,
Use this experience as a learning experience, as like, a preparation period of time, as a stage, that help us with our growth. And once we feel that, we are ready, then we can start think about, okay, like, I'm ready for a new relationship now. I stopped thinking about, the other person. I stopped blaming the other person. I'm not a victim of this relationship. I've got my lessons. I've learned. Majority of people, they don't do that. They jump from a relationship to another as if they're gonna forget this person or what happened with this person with the new person, which is not fair for themselves and for the new person. It can be really unfair.
As we're talking about divorce, I'm just thinking, are we always in the pursuit of remarrying in the Muslim community? Or do you think sometimes it's healthy to think, well, if I don't remarry, it's okay as well if I stay single? Because we do live in a society where, um, marriage is associated with happiness, as though if you're not married, single, you're not happy. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts around those
There
thoughts?
is a religious belief that, and I don't know if it's like a Sahih hadith or not, that marriage is half of your religion. So people always expect you to be married in a marriage. And sometimes that creates a pressure. If you are single, if you're working on yourself, or if you're, going through your healing journey, people are asking you, when are you gonna get married? Or can you, like, I have a person for you. I want to see you, like, happy, as like being single is not, uh,
Mm,
by default makes you unhappy. But that has like faults in it, because there are so many people that are happy being alone, doing the work they need to do. Maybe they're not even looking for a second marriage. So it really depends on the individual. Some individuals, they crave that, emotional connection, the partnership, the companionship. Yes, you can have that, but just do the work first before, you jump into the dating pool, right? Some they don't really have that need. They satisfied with their, life the way it is. Some, they want to focus on the children, raising the children before, like, they go into another relationship. So it really is case by case, and it based on the individual needs and values.
mm. Another common thing I hear amongst, I guess, unhappy couples is, I'm staying in the marriage for the
For the
children.
children. Yes, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. It's very wrong. It's very wrong. And I've seen it in cases where the children grow up and say, like, why did you stay in this relationship? Why did you allow us to witness this? It gives the children a really wrong example of what marriage is and how it should be. And I remind moms and dads that Allah said in the Quran, لا تضار والدة بولدها ولا مولود له بولده. You should not suffer because of your child. Man and woman, you should not suffer because of your child. So staying in a relationship that is harmful for you, you don't just like you're not just harming yourself, you're harming yourself and the children that you're staying for. So no, please don't do that. Either try to fix the issue and work with on the problem to improve it for yourself and for the children, or, and in many cases it is the case. where they split, it's way healthier for the children than when they were together.
Again, I guess we have these negative connotations around divorce. So, you do see couples who stay within a marriage, which is extremely miserable. There's fighting, there's argument, but in their mind, that is a better thing for their children than having divorced parents. So we really need that shift in thinking, don't we? Yeah.
And most likely these couples, in most cases, it's the mom, right? She's seen her mom doing that and her grandma doing that. And mom
Mm.
and grandma were miserable, but like they were patient and they just like stayed. So what makes me better than them? And like it's okay, like I'll just live for the children. But that's wrong on every level.
Because it has ramifications. Okay, as a last point, do you have any advice other than you've provided some valuable, very precious advice here, but any advice to someone who is, you know, getting a divorce or is divorced?
Yes. For people who are, getting a divorce or getting a divorce, please follow the steps that we mentioned earlier. Communicate as a first point, involve family members or wise friends, involve professionals, couples therapy, counseling. If it doesn't work, mediation, try to avoid court as much as you can, and try to have the children's best interest after divorce as your main goal. For people who are already divorced, divorce is a very ugly thing to go through. It's a very, very ugly thing. A majority of people will struggle. Allow yourself the time, because sometimes divorce, it will open a door for like a new world. Divorce can be the door for happiness. Divorce can be the door for healing. Staying in a toxic, harmful relationship where you are abused mentally, psychologically, emotionally, or physically is very wrong. So in these cases, divorce can be a rebirth for you. Allah said in the Quran, وَإِنْ يَتَفَرَّقَا يُغْنِ اللَّهُ كُلًّا مِنْ سَعَتِهِ. Sometimes when they split, Allah will enriches them in every aspect, on each level, separately. So it's not always staying together is good or helpful for the family and for the individual. Try to look at divorce, if you're already divorced, as like a second chance, a new opportunity.
Wow, thank you. Thanks for your valuable advice and your insights, Rand. Looking forward to having you on another topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Zulaikha. Thank you.